Video games are meant to be a getaway from reality. That's why when you attempt to combine realism and horror into one genre, it can be an acquired taste. The Last of Us 2 succeeds in what it is, a zombie-infested world with humans who want to just kill each other. The violence and gore is very realistic, but it's not glorified. I was disgusted with how gruesome some of the visuals and animations were, as I'm beating zombies' brains in and shooting humans in the face, but I could not look away. This was one incredible and engaging adventure. At its core, The Last of Us 2 borrows its action and adventure elements from the Uncharted series, while borrowing survivor and horror elements from games like Resident Evil. The fear that I feel from these games is not necessarily from the undead, but instead the lack of resources at your disposal. I had to make every bullet and every swing from a breakable weapon count. Pro tip, aim for the head. Without their heads, they're powerless. This element of realism caused fear that far outweighed simply looking at the spooky zombies, but it cannot be overstated how beautifully horrifying this game is. It's not the blood and gore that makes this game unbearable at times. I'm a big Gears of War and Doom fan, and there's far more gore in those types of games than The Last of Us, and I can stomach killing millions of enemies in those games. So what is it about The Last of Us that makes the combat so brutal? A big test for developer Naughty Dog was to not only capture the gamer into this realistically scary world, but also mimic the accessibility and control of the famous Uncharted series. In Uncharted, you play as the handsome and cocky Nathan Drake, a man who likes to live on the dangerous side. In the combat of Uncharted, you'll find yourself killing 20 dudes at once in a crazy movie-like shootout. Meanwhile, in The Last of Us 2, you'll take on way less enemies at once, but they're much more difficult. This provides a much more serious tone, unlike Uncharted, where you can just kill a million people and feel nothing. The emphasis on stealth was essential. It's rare I was able to get my way through a combat section by using brute force. I had to sneak through grass, hide behind walls, and use everything the environment had to offer me, whether that's finding a bottle to distract one enemy while stabbing another in the throat, or finding materials to create a Molotov cocktail and burn my enemy to a crisp. The feeling of accomplishment after killing a group of 5 people in The Last of Us far outweighed killing 50 people in Uncharted, and that's important not only to make the gameplay seem more realistic, but also help the gamer comprehend the weight behind murdering someone. This is because the Uncharted series glorifies combat. The Last of Us 2 vilifies it. There's nothing pretty about the combat in The Last of Us 2. This may be a linear, story-driven game, but there's a lot of exploration to be done, even when in close quarters. An early example is when I found a safe with a note next to it. The note said, "Combo is the date my good boy got Employee of the Month." So I had put on my detective hat and looked around and found an Employee of the Month board and thought to myself, which one of these humans is a good boy? There are plenty of hunks on this board. But then I was about to find out, the good boy was there all along. Riddle solved, it was the doggy.
Hey, bro. Oh, doggy.
I used the date the doggy was the Employee of the Month as the combo, and opened up the safe, rewarding me with nuts and bolts to upgrade my weapons, pills to help me level up and learn new abilities, and other goodies to help me craft items. That sequence of events was completely optional, but a realistic and interactive way to complete a task at hand. The developers simply reward exploration. I was able to reap the benefits of leveling up my character because I took a break from the action to stop and smell the roses, even in a post-apocalyptic world where I'm constantly facing death. The Last of Us 2 shines through its interactive environment. I was able to do a lot more things in the sequel outside of combat, like swinging on a rope to get to the other side of a building, or using the momentum of a ramp to cause a dumpster to roll down to clear a gate I hold open, and then utilizing that dumpster as a platform to clear a fence. You will be using your thinking cap outside of battle, and there are plenty of clever ways to get around during your adventure. This is not just a game where you kill everything mindlessly. My favorite part of the game is going through enemy strongholds. Although this is a zombie game, you will kill your fair share of humans. Obviously, humans are smarter than zombies, so you need to plot out your attacks. You can come up with some creative ways to get through clusters of enemies, but it's important to come up with a plan beforehand. There will be plenty of sequences where enemies have doggies as well, so they will be sniffing you out, exposing you and forcing you into combat. Once an enemy catches you, they'll call you out to the rest of the squad and begin to flank you. I had the most fun when I would make use of the entire map, seeking out vantage points that take enemies out one by one, while swapping in the best weapon for the job, all on the fly. I found it was important to be on the move instead of camping in one spot, not only due to the threat of getting flanked by enemies, but also because the developers reward you with ammo and health scattered across the strongholds. You're encouraged to explore, even during combat. You can use a stun grenade to take hostage of one enemy, and then use them as a meat shield as you obliterate the other enemy. And then run around and bash the other dude in the face with a 2x4. You could also just craft some proximity mines and chill in the back as you blow your opposition to smithereens. The ability to choose how you want to approach battle is very intuitive and seamless. The weapons are pretty standard, a couple pistols, a rifle, a shotgun. The Last of Us 2 doesn't sell me from some gimmicky weapon, but instead on its versatility in the gameplay while simultaneously relying on your resource management. That's why plotting beforehand is essential, because once you're in the heat of battle, it's much more difficult to think on the fly. Craft silencers for your pistol, use your knife, and use your bow and arrow when you want to be stealthy, but once you're detected, attach some dynamite to that motherfucker and blast your enemy into pieces. The zombies add their own fair share of variety, so do your scouting report. The fresh zombies, known as runners, will mindlessly run at you if you're detected. Although easy to kill, when they travel in packs, they'll hit you from the back, so you best be ready to make a run for it. The clickers are zombies that are blind, but they're more difficult to kill. They also have advanced hearing, so put on your finest pair of ballet shoes and tiptoe around that foe. Stalkers have the ability to hide and stalk you as their prey. They always seem to pop up at the worst times and expose you for the rest of the dead to come and tread. Bloaters are the big boy zombies. They're covered in thick fungus that act as armor. These are the brute zombies that take the most damage to kill. So bring out your Molotov cocktails and shotgun shells and bring those boys down! The Last of Us 2 has arguably the greatest graphics that I've ever seen in a video game. During quarantine, I was home with my mommy, and off of first glance, she thought I was watching a movie. It didn't take long until I snuck behind a guy and stabbed him in the throat with blood squirting all willy-nilly. It was then that my mother decided to leave the room, but the graphics are beautiful nonetheless. I'm sure that as technology progresses, new games will come out and eventually, the graphics of The Last of Us 2 will seem outdated, but I feel like the dark art style will hold up over time. Gamers all have their own opinions on what they want in a video game. Some play for the story, others play for the graphics and visuals, but as for me, I'm a gameplay guy. After a long, hard day of work, I just want to sit down, pick up a controller, and kick some ass. The Last of Us 2 is one of the best games I've played on the PS4 thanks to its rock-solid gameplay. It has not redefined the action, adventure, and horror genre, but it has polished it. When I'm in the heat of battle and I come out on the other side as a survivor, the mental fatigue cannot be replicated in other games. The Last of Us 2 represents a world that you do not want to be a part of, but due to the gruesome and hardcore gameplay, I could not put my controller down.
Got you, asshole!